Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good, good, good. There we are. There we are. Oh, man. I just got through soaking in a bath out here. Uh, good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Uh, let me get all situated here. Let me lay back. I done worked in the yard this morning. Uh, done got my walk in. Ava and I did. Hey, Allie. Good afternoon. Isn't it a beautiful, beautiful day here in Atlanta? I mean, it's just pretty. It's only going to be in the mid 70s today. And then I was looking at the 10-day forecast going, starting tomorrow for the next 10 days, like 84, 85, 83 degrees. When it gets up around 85, it can get pretty doggone hot by about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Good afternoon, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Um, I don't know. I'm just kind of done for the day. You know, you ever reach a point in the day where you're like, yeah, I'm done with the day. So I figured, well, why don't I just go ahead and soak and uh, take me a good long uh, bath and just kind of chill for the rest of the afternoon. And then Ava's out in the studio doing something. And and then again, she might come out after a while and then, like, let's go somewhere. And we'll hop in the car and ride down to the farmer's market or whatever. Um, uh, hey, everybody. Um, I was thinking, uh, I scrambled me a couple eggs and I was eating a little bit earlier and I flipped on CNN for a few minutes. And I watch very little of the news nowadays. But on the few minutes that I watched CNN, it was just going over stuff that's going on in the country. Um, do y'all realize? Does everybody really realize that we're now living under an authoritative government? You know, what I listened to for a few minutes was that they instructed $2 billion to be cut from Harvard. They they're wanting to do away with the Department of Education, or they're going to do away with it. Uh, the goal of all this is to eventually do away with Medicare and Social Security, kind of pull that down off the ladder. And the forces thought about this lately. Uh, I think Donald Trump's maybe just the pawn of a whole bigger system that's always been out there that has never wanted America to be the America that we had. Um, and it's hard to really make heads or tails of why uh, they're so adamant about pulling education down as a part of this process. Let me answer this phone. Hello. Uh huh. Uh huh. Well, it depends. Uh, I don't. Yeah. Or you can look at it. Tell her it'd probably be tomorrow afternoon before we could have it ready for her. And it for a picture on a core glass, it's like $38. Yeah, yeah. Tomorrow sometime. All right, bye. Good heavens, my work is never done. Y'all, I ain't really doing much of nothing. I'm just coming on here to say hey to everybody, and Boom Boom sitting here at my feet. I feel all clean. Um, uh, and But when I was watching a few minutes of the news earlier, I thought, my God, I know we've said this, about the election and all like that about authoritative regime. We're now living under an authoritative regime. And if somebody asked me to bet on whether or not in 4 years there'll be another election on the federal level for president, I wouldn't bet on it. and I'm not trying to be, there's thousands of us on social media and, ranting and raving, screaming and hollering. That's about all we can do right now is rant and rave and scream and holler. But we're now living under an authoritative regime. And there's one thing that walks hand in hand with authoritative regimes, whether it's the Ayatollah in Iran or Donald Trump in America. Uh, uh, Authoritative regimes and oppression walk together. They walk hand in hand. Any regime that is more about taking rights away from people than giving people rights, about restricting people's freedoms rather than giving them freedoms, it's an oppression. And so we are now in this place. And who was it? The English uh, the secretary for, I think it was from England, who says if you're walking through hell, just keep walking. You know, and it is very odd, the times that we're living in right now in America. We're friendlier nations around the world, from Germany to uh, different countries, Sweden and countries we've always felt like were open and kind, are are wanting their citizens to beware of traveling to the United States, that they could be held up, they could be locked up, they could have their credentials confiscated. And so we're living in that time right now. You know, a lot of us that were prophetic, myself being included, we stood on street corners and screamed at passersby. The days are coming where these rights are going to get restricted. The country's going to be under an oppressed government, and we're now at that time. We're now at that time, and it's probably the beginning of sorrows. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse and worse. There's not going to be no correction in 4 years when the elections start back up for president. This thing has went off the rails already pretty deeply now. Um, um, for a lot of you people that had planned on, maybe retiring on Social Security and doing stuff, I'm telling y'all won't listen because you're hard headed. I'm telling you, every bit of that is on the table now to be restricted and done away with. And so, and then I thought about this also, that, I mean, I would feel better somewhat if I thought all these Trump supporters, MAGA supporters, if they were naive in what's going on, and they were just bumfuzzled, and they was tricked into this. But I have to sit here and uh, be conscious of the fact that these people want this oppressed authoritarian government. They're not blindsided by any of this. This is what they voted for. This is what they want. They want welfare to be done away with. Oh, they'll say, no, we just don't want it to be abused. They want welfare to be done away with. They want social networks for people, poor people, to be done away with. And especially the evangelicals and the Christians, they have a mindset of king. They love kings. King Jesus this and King Jesus that. Now they've turned that over to King Trump. And they're not being naive, and they're not bumfuzzled, and they're not tricked into any of this. They would go back tomorrow and stand in line and vote all over again for Donald Trump, knowing that we might not have no more elections in this country, and that we'll have people like Margaret Taylor Greene that's making decisions, and the thing about it is, if they do pass laws and start putting gay men and lesbian women back in prison like this country at one time did, they're for it. They wouldn't have no problem with it. So they're not naive in wanting this oppression to come out thing. I guess they think we got too woke. We got too many people that was, they hate anything to do with gay marriage. Here you are, you got a man and woman sitting in Blue Ridge, Georgia, who's got a married and got 3 kids, and they're just outraged that somewhere in America, 2 women in Wisconsin could go somewhere and get a marriage. They're just outraged at it, so worried about other people's rights. They want those rights taken away and restricted. And so it's so we're living now in an authoritative government, under an authoritative government. And so what do? We don't have no choice, but we just keep walking, keep going, keep walking. It is scary times that we're living in. The last time that Donald Trump was president, these people that love Donald Trump so much and support him, there was millions of their neighbors that died. With the pandemic, that never happened. These people said, no, that was all fake news. There was no pandemic. And, I had people that I knew, customers of years and even family, who just, I even talked to one family member who told me, he said, of course you would get a vaccine because you don't mind shooting aborted babies up in your arm. It got in their heads somehow that the vaccine was made out of fetal tissue from aborted babies. And this, I'm like, good heavens, how do you even have a conversation with somebody who's that ignorant? So even having known all that, we saw the last 4 years, the millions and millions of people that had died because of the pandemic that never happened. And the tens and tens of thousands of little mom and pop restaurants and businesses that closed that never opened back up, unemployment at a rate that had never been in the history of our country. And the government had to put out hundreds of billions of dollars just to try to keep the country from collapsing. Even having all that as the foundation of his first presidency, these same people said, no, that's what we want. We want that. We want oppression. We want Harvard University to be done away with. We want the Department of Education that provides all kind of helps for special needs children and school buses and communities that can't afford them. Do away with all that. We don't need all that. And it's really, and the only thing I think is these people, they know this and they still want it, which makes me feel good because I would really feel like it was great weight on me to try to explain to them what's going on and that they just got snookered into it. They didn't snookered. They wasn't snookered. This is them. This is what they want. So, so anyhow, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We sat out here on our little patio this afternoon in East Point, Georgia. Eddie Williams Sellers coming to you. Just taking a moment to kind of absorb the state of affairs that the country's going through. And then, with all the stuff with the tariffs and the things that could go really bad, if they steer this economy into a stagnant recession, it can take years to come back out of that recession. And so, and a lot of you people that listen to this as well, I've worked most of them. I'm retired now. I've got my little, drawings I do from my savings, and I've got my little Social Security check. Don't think all that's safe. You might think you have all that. This country could really go down the tubes pretty quick. And yeah, it is. It's very weighty when you turn on the news for a few minutes and you're like, what? I was seeing where the Supreme Court ordered the administration to facilitate the return of this guy that they rounded up and without due process and slung on a plane and flew him back to a renowned prison in El Salvador. Well, it made it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, thank you there. The Supreme Court over on TikTok, I see that. the Supreme Court gave their final ruling, said to facilitate the return of him. Well, Donald Trump and his administration said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to have any part of it. So in an authoritative government, the first thing they do away with the rule of law. And y'all, this right here is when the government, as we have known it, has already collapsed. There's no enforcement. The Supreme Court quit being a representative branch of government when they ruled that any man or woman as president could do anything they want to illegally and unlawfully and not be prosecuted as long as they're president. In other words, a president could order the assassination of American citizens, mayors, governors, and he could go on national TV and say, I've ordered that person to be killed. And the Supreme Court said he's free. There's nothing nobody can do about that. So we kind of lost our government in that process of that happening. And so I guess for right now, like Winston Churchill, I was trying to think of earlier. I think it was Winston Churchill said, if you're walking through hell, to walk faster. Maybe it was somebody else, but yeah, we're just living in this authoritative government now, and things are, the news is something to behold now, isn't it? And so anyhow, there's that I pondered on, the other thing. And then, it's just something. My lighting's not good. That's my little garden house over here. There's my little hen house down there below that. That's Ava's studio out there. Good afternoon, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Y'all drink plenty of water. I've been drinking this Callaway from Callaway Gardens, Callaway Blue Water. It's really delicious. So anyhow, how should we feel about other Americans that have turned their back on the country? And that's what I feel like they did. Free and fair elections. We heard for 4 years fake news, elections rigged. All of that's just poison that they all sit in front of Fox News and watch all the time. And so they took the rest of their neighbors in their country and just slung them under a bus and said, yeah, screw you. I don't know. How are we supposed to even feel about people who knowingly, it's really hard to wrap your brain around, isn't it? It ain't the kind of people I really care to sit around and have a burger with. It's just weird. So good evening, TikTok. So anyhow, y'all, so also for some of you people that follow me on my other social media networks, my brother Richard's kind of back sick again, and I think they've had to put him back on a breathing machine. So, and then on top of all the other things going on in the world in our personal lives, people dealing with cancer, paying bills, watching our health, taking care, and then people have chosen to put us under oppression, under a government that could jeopardize everything as Americans that we've worked for, that we've tried to do to make this country better, So I kind of spend my times when I do think about politics and think about the state of the country and where the country is right now. I just kind of spend my time on like, what did we miss and how we got to this place? And I think the bigger picture for me is not so much how we got to this place, but the people that like us being in this place. To go back living in a country where racism is openly just laughed at, where gay people and trans people's lives are put in jeopardy and put in dangerous situations because they're mocked and ridiculed, you know, and uh, and then somebody run across this and be listening to it. Say, "Oh, brother Eddie, I'm not that person you're talking about." Yes, you are. You voted for Donald Trump. That's exactly who you are. You know, that's exactly who you are. You are who you vote for. You know, and yeah, to me, it kind of reminds me of like people that would hide behind the Bible to say what they really wanted to say, and they're like, "Oh, it's not me. I'm fine. It's the Word of God." No, it never was the Word of God. It was you that was spewing all that hate and foolishness, hiding behind what you claim was the Word of God. But it was you. Make no doubt about it. And so, uh, so yeah. Mm. So anyhow, me and Boo Moon and Grace is out here we worshiping the sun god out here this afternoon. I guess I'm gonna have to go in a minute. Um, so, have you seen the op-ed by Liz Cheney? I have not. Uh, yeah, I do like Liz Cheney though. I'd vote for Liz Cheney. I know we disagree on some policy issues, whatever. Uh, I think what the country may need to do, you may need to get someone like Liz Cheney to run as an independent and and carve out her niche of the people who's kind of sick of the Democrats and the people who's kind of sick of the Republicans. The people who does not want Bernie Sanders and the OC Congress lady. They don't want that. Uh, if you had somebody like Liz Cheney and maybe what used to be a Democrat with her running, Liz Cheney is forthright, honest, speaks the truth. Yeah, you can disagree with her. That's the thing about me with politics. I disagreed with George W. Bush a lot, but I liked him. That's one thing when you can disagree with somebody who's on the opposite political spectrum than you are. And George W. Bush in his second election, when he ran against the the Democrat, the Massachusetts senator, that was the head of the Democrat then. But George W. Bush had a whole campaign against gay marriage and went into all the black churches and evangelical churches and riled them up to turn out the vote against gay marriage. I hated that about it. But at the same time, I liked him and Laura. I felt like they were decent people. They were political people. Politics is dirty, you know. And I didn't. John McCain and me, we were on some separate sides of issues, but I liked John McCain. Uh, and I liked his wife, Cindy. I think that was her name, Cindy. Uh, uh, I didn't vote for Mitt Romney, but I liked Mitt Romney. And after I seen a documentary about him when he was running for president and what he was behind the scenes, I liked him even more. And we saw during the times of crisis and trouble where people like Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney and John McCain, they showed us who they had been all along. Their true self came through in those times. And in like manner, you take Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, when that was going on, he totally flipped shades of color, turned into somebody we had never seen before. And we're like, my God, well, that's who he was all along. He was kind of a two-face, you know. We could make all the jokes about him being closeted and all like that, but basically, really and truly, just kind of no spine, no backbone, no spine, no backbone. And so, and we said, well, we see him for who he is, you know. So going forward, hey, TikTok, I'm not ignoring y'all. I'm just sitting out here just pondering. This is what we call in the South pondering. Uh, going forward, I don't think the Democrats have anybody on the scene that's going to be able to right this ship at the moment. They say 24 hours in politics is a lifetime. Uh, the Republicans there is no Republican Party anymore, y'all. Anybody that still sits out there and says, I'm a Republican, I'm not MAGA, there is no Republican. There is no, it's, oh my God, it's so silly. Um, um, but yeah, it's gonna have to something's gonna have to give because we've now going into the 8 or 10 years of the country wanting to be an authoritative country, a dictatorship, to be run by y'all. What happened to Elon Musk? I don't watch the news that much, but where's he at? He was all over the news. He was chainsaws and he was going to cut and this Doge thing, and he was going to streamline the government, and he was going to do. And then all of a sudden, the last month, where is he? Is he still around? Is he still alive? Good Lord, where is he at? He lost hundreds of billions of dollars in worth, or billions of dollars in worth, when Tesla, everybody said, no, we're not going to buy no more Teslas. And so I guess, they say money walks, bullshit. Money talks and bullshit walks. I guess he started seeing them numbers crashing around him. He's like, yeah, I think I'm done with this. So, but anyhow, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Good afternoon. Coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. Just sitting out here drinking water in this bright sun, enjoying my afternoon, pondering about the state of the world, the state of the country, how we now are living under an authoritative regime that does not acknowledge the rule of law. They think they are the law. They're going to do things just the way they want to do, and nobody can stop them. And that's the way the majority of people that voted for Donald Trump, that's what they voted for. That's what they wanted. If the economy collapses, if they void and do away with Social Security, if they take and start putting people in jail, rounding people up, sending. Can you imagine? Can y'all just imagine this? If Barack Obama, who started this, the seeds of this authoritative government was started over the bigotry, racism of a first black man being elected as president. They started by saying he wasn't an American. And then they tried to make sure that he wasn't a Christian, tell everybody he's a Muslim. That's how all this got started back 12 years ago. From the seeds of that bigoted racism called the birther movement sprung forth MAGA. MAGA, the foundation of MAGA is birtherism. Upon that foundation, we're at where we're at today, which is under an authoritative, repressive, oppressed regime who is intent on taking people's rights away from them and changing the way, changing us over from a democracy to a bunch of rich oligarchs that's in authority, that's in power. And but could y'all imagine if Barack Obama, President Obama, had at ever any time in his presidency said, here's what I think we should do. I think we should take our American citizens as criminals, send them off to foreign countries in the most heinous prisons that they have, and let them rot outside the country in foreign lands. That way they can just do with them whatever they want to do. Could y'all imagine what kind of outrage would have happened if President Obama had said that? These same people that were so outraged at just emails from Hillary Clinton, how outraged they would have been. Hey, Bridget, over on Facebook, how outraged they would have been if President Obama had said, we take American citizens and just send them off to prisons in other countries. For him to just make statements like that, and the people that support him, they like that. They like that. It's weird. just we're living in an authoritative regime under an authoritative regime, and we don't know where all this is going to go, how it's going to end up, if it's just going to blow all up at some point. We don't know, and so it is pure craziness. So anyhow, y'all, let me answer this phone and whoop, good. Maybe they hung up. So anyhow, y'all, I'm gonna get out here and I'm enjoying my afternoon. Ava went and met Sarah. I think her last name's Hodges. She's a Facebook friend, but went and met Sarah over at in Cabbagetown on the corner of Powell and Memorial Drive. There's Petite Choux, a little French cafe restaurant. It's really good. Well, they had lunch over there, and so Ava came back, and he had this pastry, blueberry with croissant, something another. I bit into it, and I'm like, oh, glory be to the name of the Lord. It was so delicious. Such good food. Atlanta has the best food of any city in the world. If you run across this and you're planning on coming to Atlanta, plan on eating. There's good restaurants all across north, south, east, west, all around the city. Good restaurants, good food. But anyhow, y'all, we're walking through hell. Listen to this. I'm going to go with this. We're walking through hell. You might say, well, baby brother Billy Eddie, what do we do in this case? Keep walking. Just keep walking. Don't you? I love me some baby. Well, and listen, on the side note, this ain't got nothing to do with politics. But we watched White Lotus, and we're watching the Righteous Gemstones now and some other shows. Dying for Sex. All three of these series were showing penises all in them. What happened years ago? It was, you would never, ever show a man's penis. These three shows, you got baby brother Billy skiing on a lake with his wiener just flopping all over. And a Pentecostal preacher with his wiener showing. I know all these scenes of men's penises are stand-in and fake penises and all like that. Now, ain't that weird how we get right back on talking about men's goobers? But these shows now are just like showing just long scenes of men bouncing around. Even the White Lotus sitting there with his shorts open and his testicles hanging down, his penis, and I'm like, good Lord. And that one looked real too. I guess we're going through this age now of penis freedom, where it used to be that if somebody accidentally seen some penis somewhere, it shocked them undid them for the rest of their life. They could never ever overcome. Oh my God, I seen a man's penis, and now they're just showing baby brother Billy skiing on a lake with his penis flopping around. And it wasn't like 2 seconds. It was like 2 minutes of him just, from the back, from the front, from the side. I'm like, you get it, brother baby Billy. It's crazy. All right. Winston Churchill said, if we're walking through hell, just walk faster. That's the only thing I can say. We just keep walking to see where all this leads. See y'all. Let me get out of here.